A data analyst who was at a White House meeting Friday says President Trump is being betrayed from within. And he claims the president's advisors are lying to him. NTD's Grace Coulter has the story.
Patrick Byrne, former CEO of Overstock, who's part of a data analyst team analyzing abnormalities in election results, says President Donald Trump's advisors want him to lose the election and are lying to him. This comes after a lengthy White House meeting on Friday that Byrne says he was a part of. Byrne made the allegations in a series of tweets on Sunday. He wrote, "I can promise you, President Trump is being terribly served by his advisors. They want him to lose and are lying to him." He also said they are telling Trump to concede the election. Byrne specifically pointed to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, General Counsel Pat Cipollone, and a pair of attorneys who he referred to as Eric and Derek. Byrne said, "As a CEO, my heart broke to see what he is going through. He is betrayed from within." Trump has not conceded the 2020 election on the basis of the election allegedly being stolen and fraudulent. Byrne also denied claims made in media reports that the president discussed declaring martial law during the meeting, saying they were 100% false. Attorney Sidney Powell, who was also present at the meeting, also disputed the claims on Twitter, saying there was no military coup. She wrote, "People saying that, including those around him, are liars. The coup is by the CCP and all the people it has bought." Byrne said that at the meeting, Powell and General Michael Flynn presented a course that he estimates has a 50 to 75% chance of victory, and he said the president wants to fight on. Grace Coulter, NTD News, New York.
State legislators from Mississippi, South Carolina, and Alabama are calling on their senators to stand against election fraud. They're asking them to join Congressman Mo Brooks' effort to push for a full investigation into voting irregularities and reject electors from contested states. Congressman Stuart Jones and the South Carolina House of Representatives sent a letter to Senators Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham, asking them to join Representative Brooks' efforts. The Mississippi Freedom Caucus is also urging Senators Cindy Hyde-Smith and Roger Wicker to do the same. And Representative Andrew Sorrell of Alabama is calling on Senator-elect Tommy Tuberville and Senator Richard Shelby. He's also asking for all of his Republican colleagues in the state House and Senate to join the effort. He said, "We must all speak up for free and fair elections," and adding, "If we cannot trust the voting process, it undermines our democracy." And at the same conference in Florida, filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza gives NTD his perspective on election issues. NTD's Juliette Song reports.
The election outcome is unclear among various legal challenges. That's why conservative filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza says he thinks the mood of Trump voters could be one of frustration and uncertainty about the best way forward.
My own mood is calm, but fearful, but also resolved. I think we will get through it, but the full pathway is not fully clear.
Sitting down with NTD's host Cindy Drucker at the Turning Point USA conference, D'Souza said the society is in real trouble if a large amount of the electorate does not believe that elections are fair.
Because it affects future elections as well. It's not just a one-time bad event, which would be traumatic enough. But the idea of normalizing that subverts the confidence in democracy itself.
He added that some American public has lost a lot of confidence in institutions like media and academia, and now the election process too.
So I think for me, it puts the society into a certain kind of crisis mode. And that's why I talk about sort of the Lincoln moment. It's just a moment at which you have to go back to the very fundamentals and ask, A, are you okay with this? And if not, what is your plan to deal with it? What are you going to act to do? Because, see,
he said some of the losing side could go into what he calls guerrilla mode.
I don't necessarily mean we're going to become guerrilla fighters in the mountains, but I do mean that we will then become people whose fate is being forcibly decided against our will. And that means we're not living in a free society. So we would then react by attempting to bring down the institutions of the society because even that chaos is preferable to being tyrannized over.
Now, D'Souza said he thinks the critical junction is trying to work out how to fix the alleged corruption.
In other words, does it need the Supreme Court to fix it? If so, the Supreme Court appears to be taking a role of backing off, abdicating its responsibility. Is it something that can be fixed and should be fixed at the level of the state legislatures themselves? In which case, we've got to bring enormous attention and pressure to bear to resolve it at that level. So I think there will be supreme efforts to fix these problems. Because
He added if the problems aren't fixed, then people would have to step back and reconsider the situation. Reporting by Juliet Song, NTD News.
Project Veritas says it's looking for whistleblowers. The group's founder told us at a Turning Point USA conference why he thinks it's important to come forward and why it's just as tough to do that. NTD's Juliet Song reports.
People think there's going to be targeting.
James O'Keefe, founder of the undercover journalism nonprofit Project Veritas, says some people fear being targeted for their political leanings.
And I think that's a fear that pervades the American body politic. Like if the other guy wins, we're going to the gulag.
He says it's important to fight that fear.
Because what eventually happens in societies, and we saw this in the Soviet Union, is that you end up with basically a country of feckless cowards because everyone is afraid to do anything for fear of like losing their job or being squealed on by their neighbors. This is not the sort of world that we want to live in.
O'Keefe says Project Veritas is looking for brave souls who are willing to speak up, even if it means certain sacrifices, like one postal worker from Pennsylvania.
Richard Hopkins, postal worker in Pennsylvania, overheard his supervisor telling him to backdate the ballots before Election Day that were received after Election Day. He spoke to us on the record, and the Office of the Inspector General sent federal agents to him with one mission, to get him to change his tune. And they locked him in a room for 4 hours, wouldn't let him leave, wouldn't let him speak to an attorney, made him sign something like a Soviet Union-style recanting. He did not even know what he was signing. They did not give him what he signed. And those two agents leaked what he signed to the Washington Post.
He says luckily Hopkins recorded the entire interaction on his phone and published it.
And you hear these federal agents saying, we're trying to scare you, we're trying to twist you. The Post Office suspended him, and this was a story that happened. I've never seen anything like this. It was like the people in our federal government tasked with investigating fraud were sent to cover up the fraud and target the whistleblower.
O'Keefe says people have flooded Project Veritas with messages through various channels, wanting to help expose potential illegal activities. And his organization has set up a call center to field the requests and get more citizens better equipped to blow the whistle. Juliet Song, NTD News.
The Department of Homeland Security says Americans are suffering and dying every day because of the Chinese Communist Party. They say every American business, media institution, and citizen must work to fight off the threat of the regime amid the pandemic. NTD's Christina Kim brings us the story.
Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf said the Chinese Communist Party attacks the legitimacy of our political system. This, as he spoke of the dangers of the CCP and outlined steps the Trump administration and Homeland Security have taken to combat their influence.
I cannot stress this point strongly enough. China threatens the livelihood, the prosperity, and well-being of each and every American. Your homes, your schools, your jobs, your retirement accounts, and your health are all at risk.
Wolf gave examples of how the CCP have used disinformation campaigns to mislead the American public, pressure political figures, shape American discourse in China's favor, and shift responsibility for the pandemic away from the CCP.
A 2017 U.S. Trade Representative report found that Chinese theft of American intellectual property cost our country as much as $600 billion each and every year.
According to Wolf, China Daily, a well-known mouthpiece for the party, paid millions of dollars to major American newspapers to print pro-Beijing supplements designed to look like real news articles. But under the Trump administration, the U.S. has been and will continue to take action. For example, Chinese students and researchers tied to their military will not be allowed to enter the states. After that notice, tens of thousands of students left to avoid detection. Before, CCP agents could have visas for up to 10 years. Now, it will be shortened to a maximum of 1 month. In 2019 alone, the DHS seized enough fentanyl to kill every American 4 times over. It was a part of efforts to intercept opioids and other drugs coming from China. And the U.S. will be specifically welcoming refugees from Hong Kong. The DHS will soon release a plan to further work on these issues. Christina Kim, NTD News.